and welcome to Wildly Curious, a podcast that tells you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
I'm Katy, and today is the third episode where we're talking about volcanoes and the surprising things they've made, buried, and accidentally made cooler. So my first week, I talked about things that were buried.
Then I did things that were made.
Yeah, and things that were, I guess things that were made too. But mine is more of a made, buried, I guess, and a little cooler. So in this one, this one I really thought that you were going to pick. I will have to give a shout out to my son, Luke, because the only reason why I was like, oh, this one, because he talks about it in Minecraft so much.
Okay.
So this one, I'm talking about obsidian.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool. I would not have thought of this angle.
Really? Because I was like, man, Laura's going to, clearly Laura's
Yeah,
gonna
I
pick
mean,
this
I
one.
love a good rock, and obsidian is
No, right?
so beautiful.
If you don't know, Laura and I, we blindly go into these. We pick a theme, and then each of us, we pick what we want to talk about. We send it to a mutual third party. Thank you, Taylor.
Yes, thank you.
And then she makes sure that we don't repeat anything. And so Laura and I don't know what the other one's talking about. So when I sent mine to Taylor, I was like, all right, if Laura
Fully
talks about this one,
expecting,
here's my backups. And you didn't.
That's
So,
cool.
all right,
I'm glad we didn't have any overlap. I was also like,
None.
I don't know. Maybe Katie will talk about this one.
Nope. Obsidian. So what is obsidian? It's volcanic glass, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's definitely nature's, I would say, sharpest material.
Yes.
By far. So this isn't just any rock. This is made when lava cools so fast, it doesn't have time to even crystallize. It skips the whole in between solidifying, getting all of its molecules all lined up phase. Just completely skips that and becomes glass. So here's how it works. Lava erupts, usually the more viscous, the sticky, slow-moving, silica-rich kind. And instead of cooling slowly and forming chunkier crystals, it slams into cold air or, better yet, water. And when that happens, it, quote-unquote, freezes instantly.
Yeah,
but it doesn't
it
freeze.
is kind of like ice-looking.
Yes. So because it cools so fast, obsidian, like I said, it's a non-crystalline. That means that there is no time for the orderly mineral growth, no flashy crystal structures, just smooth, hard, shiny black glass.
Right, which is interesting. There's so many different types of igneous rocks made from heat, but this is the kind that's like, boom. This is what you get with no like growth.
Like a flash freeze almost.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's dark green, brown, or even like the edges of it can be rainbowy sort of color. If there were bubbles or impurities, those can still be caught too, quick enough. So you can find this normally at the edges of the lava flows, at the top of the lava domes, or anywhere molten rock suddenly got shut down, especially if it met water, like I said. And because it's so high in silica, like more than 70%, which is why it goes so slow, it's glossy, brittle, and ridiculously sharp when it breaks. And when I say sharp, like absurdly, like sharper than your kitchen knife sharp.
Yeah.
So when obsidian breaks, it doesn't crumble like a normal rock because, again, it's all like
There's
how
no
it
crystal
has
structure.
to flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. It shatters in a pattern called a conchoidal fracture. Anyway, that's just a fancy way of saying it breaks into perfectly curved shards with edges so thin, sometimes they can just be a few molecules thick, which is mind-blowing.
I actually,
think.
Ironically, for any of you who are watching, I have obsidian arrowheads literally in front of me on the desk.
What the heck?
Why, you might ask? I don't know. Mom gave them to me, but like,
I love your mom, but
yeah, sorry. What do you need? Obsidian arrowheads.
chances?
And what are the chances? But so cool.
Yeah.
And there's a guy on TikTok who makes obsidian arrowheads that I like to follow. But that guy, I mean, first of all, there's usually blood involved because of how
I can't imagine
freaking
there
sharp.
not be.
But he has to have leather guards on his legs and leather gloves so that when he makes these spearheads and arrowheads, he isn't slicing himself to ribbons.
Yes. Yeah, like you said, arrowheads, but they make surgical tools from these. This is like the peak of surgical tools. So they make obsidian scalpels.
That's what I thought. I thought they still did that. A modern tool.
Yes, a modern tool
made of stone.
For procedures that are like eye surgery and tissue transplants, because obsidian blades are up to 5 times sharper than what we can ever make steel, which means there's less damage to the tissue, less scarring, and much, much cleaner healing because it's just like such a clean cut.
That is so amazing. It's so amazing that we have probably been using this for very similar things since cave.
They've tracked it back more than 30,000 years that we've been using obsidian.
We're like, this is sharp.
Yes, let's just keep going cutting with it, guys.
And then we're still like, this is 2025. We use computers and lasers to do surgery, but we also still use rocks.
Yes.
Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, it is just crazy. So the Stone Age folks used it for knives, like Laura said, arrowheads, like those scrapers for making the clothing, how you have to scrape like all
the hair off the
hide
hides.
and everything. Yeah. Aztecs used it for weapons and mirrors because it does get so shiny. The Mayans used it in rituals, which I'm like, that took a violent turn. But the obsidian wasn't just a local thing. It became one of the earliest forms of long-distance trade, too, which would make sense because
it's only where there's volcanoes.
You have to be, you got to be near a volcano, but it was so valuable because it's so sharp.
And we weren't making anything like that back in the day.
No, heck no. And so people would travel long distances with this obsidian because that's the good stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it could do anything and everything.
I bet people made razors out of it, like for shaving.
Yeah, like anything to cut, shave, anything like that, obsidian. So again, this whole mini-series we're talking about volcanoes, right? And so part of it I was talking about volcanoes. They make cool things, and this is definitely one of those really cool things that it makes. So again, it's just shows the obsidian is like what happens when the destruction of a volcano freezes like mid-motion. No crystals, no minerals, just like boom, instant transformation into something insanely sharp. So it might be a rock, but it's truly there's very few, I shouldn't say very few. Like diamonds, of course, that shaped economy and everything for very negative reasons. But this is one that has shaped culturally for
human history.
30,000 plus years.
Yeah.
But in a positive light that I don't think enough people really
you're right.
think about.
I don't think most people even think about obsidian, but you're right. It's totally shaped human history because of what we could do with those tools.
That we never could do before.
Wow.
So yeah.
An underappreciated rock, as you can tell.
Right, that Laura just happens to have there on her desk.
I don't know if it's real obsidian, but it sure feels and looks like it.
Yeah, crazy. All right, guys, well, make sure you go check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And we will talk to you then next week.
See you guys.